Brum, brum, brum. Potato, potato, potato.
Okay, so today I'm going to work on a bike I've had some trouble with. It's a 2008 Suzuki S50 Boulevard. So it's about an 800cc V-twin. It's based on the 80s, 90s. God, what were these Suzukis called? And they weren't a Savage because they're a twin, but they're, anyway, 800, maybe it was a Savage. The design's old. The carburetors are a real bugger to clean on these things. So when it came in, the battery was shot and the carbs were definitely clogged because even when I turned it over, wouldn't fire up. Sprayed it with some like starting fluid, it would fire up. So carbs were shot. So got a kit in, cleaned them up, set them up, put them back in the bike and synced it all up, got them matched up. And then the bike idles mint. Like it fires up instantly, idles great, mid throttle's nice, idles great, but full throttle, the rear cylinder leans out, okay? Which is super weird. So there's nothing you can do with mixture screws or, you can try a bigger jet, but it's really strange that the stock jet is leaned so hard that it misses. Like as soon as you're at full throttle, it misses. So I took the carbs out again, thought possibly, maybe I installed something wrong. That's possible, I took it all apart, washed it again, cleaned it again, threw it in, nothing. Exact same thing. So they idle great, the air mixtures are great, I measure it with the wide bands, and as soon as you go to full throttle, that rear cylinder just leans right out. Okay, if it was a spark issue, the plugs would actually look kind of fouled, but these ones are clearly just dry and not working. So it's not a spark issue, it's not a timing issue, it is a fuel issue. So the only other thing is, and it's really strange because, here I'll show you. Really strange because on this bike, the fuel tank, okay, runs down to the fuel pump, which is down in here. All right, that's the little fuel pump right there. And then the fuel pump pumps into the back cylinder, and then there is a tube that goes from the feed of the carburetor up over to the front cylinder. So in my mind, there's no way that the front carb should have enough fuel and the rear carb should starve if I've got a fuel pump issue. So I'm fighting this diagnosis. I don't think this is the problem. I can't actually figure out in my head what's wrong since the fuel flows through that carb, no problem. So if this does not fix it, I am going to put the float height a little higher in the carb, which is, outside of its specs, and I might even bump up the jet one size and see if that starts to make a difference. But the only other thing I can think of is that under full throttle, there might be enough fuel up in the line from idle, because the pump might work decent at idle, that this bowl up here, because this one sits at a funny angle, this bowl might not starve like this one does at full throttle. So we'll try her out, we'll see, but just doesn't make any sense. Okay, I have taken this carburetor apart fucking 6 times. Okay, I cannot find anything wrong with it. I have checked the float height again, confirmed it. It definitely is working. All the chambers are correct. I even grabbed a shop vac and sucked the air past the whole carburetor chamber to make sure that the diaphragm is raising when the Venturi effect is happening. So I bumped up the jet size, the main jet size, by a couple of sizes because it's just really lean. I'm hoping it ends up starting to become rich, which is great. Then I know I'm on the right track. But if this changes nothing, we are dealing with something else in this bike, and it actually could be a lack of airflow going into the engine, which could be valves. Like, I don't know, because it doesn't seem like it's spark. I swapped out coils left to right and it still stays in the same spot. And I've checked spark plug gap and I've changed plugs a couple times. So it's not spark. It's definitely leaning out on the rear cylinder, and I don't know. So we'll try this.
My last attempt at some form of a fuel system issue was a fuel pump. It wasn't it. It didn't fix it. So I took that back off, put the stock one back on because it was working, and I gave up. I couldn't fix this bike. It idles and mid throttles so well that my carburetor work is okay. I'm good at those. So I'm thinking it must be the CDI unit. That's the kind of the computer of the bike that tells it when to shoot the sparks. And I don't know why it doesn't show as a bad spark when I look at the spark plugs, but it has to be. And I'm hoping that the customer gets a hold of a CDI box, puts it in the bike, and it runs flawlessly. I haven't heard back from them, but that's what I think is probably going to fix this thing. You have to live with the fact that sometimes you can't solve them all. So I hope it goes well for them, and thanks for watching. Have a good day.